You're listening to the Integrative Health Simplified podcast with Kari Coody, pharmacist turned integrative health practitioner. Here we talk all things straightforward and honest when it comes to holistic health and simplifying your best steps forward while eliminating all the gimmicks and confusion. Leave the overwhelm at the door and get ready for impactful action steps that get to the real root of your issue and actually move the needle in your health. Let's dive into the show. Hey there, it's Kari here, and we are back for another episode of the Integrative Health Simplified podcast. So glad that you are back with us, or if you're joining for the first time, so glad that you're here. Today's episode features one of my good friends, Clara. She is someone that I actually met online, and she's also a part of She Works His Way. So we actually saw each other in person last year and just kind of got to know each other. And she actually opened up her home to me while I was in the area while my kids were at camp. So this is actually a really fun episode because we recorded it together in person. So that was really special. And just the conversation that we had is, I feel, so needed. I know we're on this series of women's health, and this conversation might not be exactly what you think about when you think about women's health. However, this is so important to think about giving ourselves grace, to think about what our motives are, and to just consider, do we trust ourselves around food and with our health? I think that's something that's so important to consider. And no matter where you find yourself with your health, these are all things that we sort of have to just ask ourselves on an ongoing basis, because sometimes we do better than others, and sometimes we just need reminders of these things. And so I hope you enjoyed this interview as much as I did recording it. Clara is such a gift, and if you don't follow her on Instagram, you're going to have to go and do that, because she is constantly just making me think differently and encouraging me, and I just am so thankful for her. So let's jump into the interview. Hello there. It's Kari here, and coming to you for another episode of the Integrative Health Simplified podcast. I actually have a really cool opportunity to be in person with my friend Clara, and if you follow her, then you probably know she's just a gem, and I think we can learn a lot from her. And I just thankful that she agreed to come on here and just chat about some things that we see working with clients, and just things that we've experienced also, and just maybe give some good thoughts around these topics. And so, Clara, if you don't mind just kind of sharing a little bit about yourself and your journey to kind of where you got to where you are.
Yeah.
How you got there.
This is I feel like a special, different podcast environment. We are filming
Yes.
live from my living room,
Yes.
which was so fun. But a little about me. I live currently in Asheville, North Carolina. We're actually technically right outside Asheville. My husband and I, we just bought a house. So we've got a little bit of land. I was just talking to Kari. We have a garden. Nothing has yet come to fruition. But
and we were also talking about how that's so relatable to health.
Yeah, I was like, I can draw many analogies from that.
Yes.
But I work as a dietitian. I have my own private practice online and in person called Redemptive Health. And then I also work at a local direct primary care clinic a couple days a week, just providing nutrition counseling for patients and members there as well. So I've been, in the field of health and nutrition or wellness since 2016, when I first became a dietitian, but I've been interested since really like junior year of high school, which was 2009. So I've seen a lot in health and wellness, and I have had better approaches and not so great or beneficial approaches. So, I feel like I've seen a lot.
Isn't it interesting though, probably from the outside looking in, that if you were to ask like your family or friends, they probably would have said, gosh, Clara's always been a healthy person. But it's interesting though, how much you've learned and how you're like cringe probably at some of those approaches that you used to take. So I think that's a good point to make, when I'm sharing something, or when, Clara's sharing something, we're coming from a lot of experience of doing it the wrong way. So I think that's really important to know. But what I was thinking about, just what we might chat about, I think it's whenever I think about what you share on social media and just you as a person, you're very consistent. And I think a lot of women, they just struggle with that for one reason or another, right? There's a lot of things that could go into that. But I guess I'm just wondering from your personal experience and also working with clients, like what have you, I guess, noticed, or what's come up that is the culprit behind that, of people being inconsistent?
Inconsistent? Yeah. Gosh. I think something that I kind of always go back to, and this is honestly pulling from my own personal experience, is one, just having the wrong kind of or misplaced motives of like why you are trying to build better health habits or improve your nutrition or work out more consistently. I think especially in today's culture, so much of that is kind of revolving around losing weight or feeling more confident in your body, or just like looking for some sense of approval or satisfaction and like looking better.
Yeah.
And so that drives us to, the messages that surround us are like, eat better, eat less, exercise more. We've heard that probably more times than we can count.
Definitely.
And so we try it and we almost make it like this God above everything else that we strive for. That like all of our time and attention and just kind of emotion is put into. And we just, I think we go about it just unrealistically, honestly, with our expectations of, we forget that we live like, normal lives. You're probably a mom, or, you have kids, or you are maybe single, but you've got a job, or you're in school, or you're getting your master's and working, or you're volunteering at your church. Like you have hundreds of other things going on in your life that create your life. And we forget that health, or maybe we don't even know, we're really not taught this much, that health is so much more than what you eat and your exercise routine.
Definitely.
Those are aspects of physical health, but there's more than just that to physical health. And there's more than just physical health to
your overall health
as a whole. And we kind of hyper focus on this one tiny piece of it and kind of forget everything else that can impact our ability to do said things. So I think a lot of times it goes back to kind of a misplaced motive or kind of a wrongful motive, but then also just these unrealistic expectations of thinking we have to do things like perfectly, or that consistency means we do something the exact same way every single day. And then if we, a wrench gets thrown in our plans, it's like, oh shoot, well, just throw out the towel. Like, I'm done.
Sure.
And so I think we just kind of get ourselves down, and then we let that experience kind of define our ability moving forward. So either our ability or how we look at what being healthy is like. Oh, it's too hard. It takes too much time. It's too much effort.
Right.
I don't have what it takes. this is just who I'm meant to be. You kind of become like a slave to your genetics or your past, or like hope is lost. And so you kind of give every other effort moving forward a half-hearted attempt.
Yeah. Because you just think I'm going to fail. So
why try? Yeah.
I honestly think sometimes we set our expectations so high because it's almost like we know we're going to fail. And so there's just this like subconscious thing. Do you see that a lot with clients you work with? And just, as you overhear women talking, I find that really interesting, just to be a fly on the wall and how women refer to themselves and talk about health. And
I think it kind of leads into that like all or nothing, black or white thinking a lot. And how that is, I know you do a lot of kind of like talking and discussion and educating on like the nervous system, and how really like black or white thinking it's rigid. And so it's easy. We don't have to make a decision and live in that gray area where that kind of takes a little bit more effort.
Right. Well, that's life though. I mean, we have to live in the gray, right?
But I see that a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm just wondering, if somebody comes to you with that mentality, or really if you struggled with that mentality before, and like what helped you get out of that? I mean, I'm just speaking, maybe you can talk to some about how you did it wrong in the past too. I think we can learn a lot about that from ourselves.
Yeah. I did it wrong for sure. So, it's funny, like, I don't remember, I didn't have like a light bulb moment where I was like, oh, this is like, I'm never thinking in that black or white approach again. But I lived there for many years. And I think I've talked to past clients who have maybe done something like Whole30, where I feel like that is very much like start back over at day one.
Yes.
And so that, of course, will, I think, just naturally funnel us into that black or white thinking. But even if you haven't done Whole30, like I haven't ever participated in it.
Right.
I think it just goes back to that kind of inner desire to be perfect, which I could talk about, a whole new tangent of like, as believers, we're never going to, as anyone, we're never going to be perfect. That's why we need Christ. But I honestly made it an idol of thinking that like, once I look a certain way, people will like me, or I will be pretty or more worthy or whatever. So like that was what I was striving for. And then when I would mess up, I would just go off the rails, mainly because I was under eating and over exercising.
Sure. So your body was like, give me food.
My body was working against me because it loved me.
Yes.
And so I would go off the rails and then just kind of, blow it on the weekend and start again on Monday, eating super clean and maybe working out twice a day or going really hard.
Yeah.
And it was, that whole terrible cycle that I'm sure many people listening have been through, or maybe you're in right now. And so I think there were a lot of things that kind of helped me break out of that. First and foremost, honestly, is just like my relationship with God and really kind of grasping and choosing to live into like my identity in Him, that like no amount of weight loss or perfect health or anything like that would actually make me more satisfied or more fulfilled.
Yeah. I think you get so tired of like yourself.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, you try to put these unrealistic expectations and you kind of just have to get to the end of yourself, and we all kind of do that differently. Yeah. Hopefully it's faster than slower. Yeah. But I mean, we realize that no matter what we try to do, we're never going to earn, like, our worth is not in anything other than Christ. And I think once you get there, it's like, wow, what was I doing for all of those years? You just want to go back and talk to yourself.
Yeah. Slap you on the face.
Love yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was really, when I started, I realized that I just like honestly did not love my body. I didn't like how it looked. And so like when I noticed that my joy was coming or not coming from that, through the Lord's revelation, I was like, He impressed on my heart that like truly health is such a gift.
It is.
And I was tied into, I worked in a hospital as a clinical dietitian for 5 years, and hated pretty much every minute of it, but that did more truly for my perspective changing on health or about health. Just seeing people, I mean, my age, a little bit older than me, laying in a bed, like totally debilitated, could not go home because they were so just unhealthy. Yeah. That did something to me. And like, I would skip out of the hospital and like want to go on a run or to work out or to make something healthy to eat or not turn to food to like numb out a negative or hard emotion, because I truly was able to grasp that like health is a gift that I did nothing to deserve, having two legs that would let me walk and work. Yeah. And that I'm just called to steward, to take care of, but like to also enjoy. Yeah. And I think so many of us forget kind of how to enjoy health.
I agree. Yeah. We make it way too rigid. And then it's like, well, I'm going to eat this so that I can eat this later. I'm going to work out so I can eat this. I used to think that a lot too. Like, I'm going to work out so that I can have a cookie or oh
my gosh.
I think that a lot of women are still in that space though, or they've just said, I don't have time for any of it. I'm just going to,
I guess I'm just going to look the way I look and be the way I, I mean, it's just, and I feel for that woman that feels like she's not worth the time or the effort, or that she's somehow broken, that she's not fixable, or that, I don't know. There's just so many thoughts, but I do think it goes back to where we find our worth and why we're doing it, our motivation. I think those two things are really, really big in this conversation.
Yeah. I hear a lot, I don't have kids yet. We don't have kids yet, but I hear a lot of times, and I get it, where it's like, if you are a mom, maybe you are probably very busy if you have kids, that can be kind of an excuse of like, I'm too busy. There isn't enough time. I have kids that work to a full time, etc. 110% valid. You are busy. And I hear so often, like, taking care of you is taking care of them, which absolutely is true. But even if you don't have kids, does that mean you're no longer just like worth taking the time to care for? No. Right. And so, yes, taking care of yourself, if you have kids, is taking care of them. And I'm sure you can vouch for that. It's like your kids pick healthy habits and behaviors from what they see you do.
Definitely.
But even if you don't have kids right now, or even if maybe you have never had kids, you are still worth the time to learn how to care for your body in an appropriate, like, way that honors your physiology. I think we can attribute being healthy as a character trait that people are like, just
I've gotten that a lot,
or it's like a natural tendency. Oh, well, that's easy for you. But no, it is literally a skill. I mean,
and you don't always want to get up and work out do definitely.
It is a skill that you build over time. And you could say the same for motivation of like, oh, I'm just not motivated. I just couldn't get myself motivated. Well, the only way to get yourself motivated is to like take action. And I have found, especially for clients and people in my membership, like the best way to get motivated and to take action is to tell yourself for just 5 minutes, I'm going to do fill in the blank. Because again, we set our expectations. So
the first few minutes are the hardest anyway. Yeah, definitely.
But I kind of lost my train of thought there.
But I do think the all or nothing mentality. I mean, even like with my kids, my kids are a little bit older, which is great, but it's just the changing of the seasons as far as like getting out of school, and summer, like even May was insane. And so I didn't work out as much, yet I still remained active, and I think that, yes, it's easy to get down on yourself because you had these things that you wanted to do and you maybe didn't do them the way you want. But still, I just think that I knew that I felt better and that I just wanted to continue that, that habit I had, that I had that good habit of just doing something. And so I think that really helps me to look at movement and not this rigid way. I don't know if that makes sense, and I get being in like a workout program and you want to finish, the weeks or whatever, but if you get off, it's not the end of the world. I think sometimes we just throw in the towel and we'll pick it up when summer's over. Or we'll pick it up when, just do 10 minutes, just go for a walk, just do something. I feel the same way, and I'm sure Clara does as well. There are just times when you're not going to be able to do as much. If you're in a season where you're extremely stressed, maybe you shouldn't work out as hard. Maybe you should just go for walks or do a little bit less. I just think we have to give ourselves grace and not and realize that it isn't all or nothing. And I think that's one of the worst things that we can do is just compartmentalize, I guess.
I have 3 things to say on things you just said. One is when you said, I'll just wait until summer is over.
I'll hear that all the time.
A perfect example for this. So yesterday was Sunday. For whatever reason, I was just like zonked. So we got back from church, ate lunch, and I like hit the bed taking a nap. And when you wake up from a nap and sometimes you feel even more groggy. And it's just like, oh my gosh, I have no motivation to like do anything. I picture saying, I'll wait until summer's over, kind of like taking a nap, because when summer's over, you're probably not going to feel very motivated to move. Right. Because then you're going to like school is starting.
Yeah. And it's so much harder to get back into a routine.
So
if you
much
completely
harder.
stop for like 2 months.
And so I am not saying kill yourself all summer long with your workouts.
Yeah, no.
No, but like keeping some type of momentum is going to be better than pressing pause.
Yeah.
And then trying to like accelerate again when you like don't have the stamina, you don't have the habits, you don't have that mindset already in place.
Yeah.
And so something that helps me with that, and also is something I pretty much preach every single day, either like on Instagram or in my membership or with one-on-one clients, is thinking of it. So often we think of like all or nothing thinking, right? I think about like a light switch where it's either all on or all off, no in between. A way to move from that all or nothing thinking over to, okay, I can like actually see the gray area, is thinking of it like a dimmer switch, where sadly, we don't have an example that I can show you. But if you picture like a dimmer switch where it's either, on or off, but you can dim the light in the middle, that is kind of a visual way to think of, okay, how can if I can't do the workout that I want to do, maybe I can't do all the exercises, or I can't do the whole time, whatever.
Yeah.
That would be, maybe 100%. If you can't do that, well, there's a lot of room between 100 and 0.
Right.
And so you can then look at it as like, okay, well, if I cannot do 100%, maybe what would 80% look like? What would 60% look like? I mean, what would 42% look like?
Yeah, anything.
Right. And so that feeds into this belief that like something really is better than nothing.
Yes.
And that momentum, the more you do it, you're going to build the habit, you're going to build the routine, you're going to feel better. And it becomes easier.
It does become easier.
And then you picture this, you're 60 days down the road and you look back and you're like, holy cow, I'm like so proud of myself that I'm actually the type of person that is working out consistently. And I'm not torn, or I'm not enslaved to that black and white thinking. And that is a choice we have to make.
Yeah.
Of like, I'm willing to think of that dimmer switch mentality of like something is better than nothing. And thinking of like every situation will be different, right? Like different seasons of life will be different. Yeah. And so you can still take that dimmer switch into different situations of like, well, okay, in this situation where I am, what can I do? Yeah. Maybe it doesn't look like the full workout program that I had signed up for, but like, what can I take from that? Or what can I do instead to just simply keep moving? Right. Because going on a walk or doing a 10-minute bodyweight circuit to kind of keep going is better than, sitting on the couch for one day that leads to a week, that leads to 3 months, that leads to, a year, and the mindset that goes with that.
Yeah. I was just actually thinking about, when I think about health, a lot of times we just think about what we eat and how we move. And I know we're talking about movement, but it made me think about during summer, a lot of times we are going out to eat more, or maybe we want to have treats more, or, I just know my kids, they like to go get ice cream. And so am I going to get ice cream with them every time? Maybe not, but am I going to get it when I want to, and just eat for joy in that moment? Yes, I am. And maybe I haven't in the past. I for sure haven't in the past. I went 2 years without eating refined sugar whatsoever. And so I missed out on a lot of treats and things, which, it was fine in the moment. I didn't really, but then I look back and think we are supposed to eat for joy sometimes, right? I get that we should eat for health, and I just feel like whenever we give ourselves permission to trust ourselves with food, that's really big. And I know a lot of us go on vacation, and we'll be going on vacation for a week. And I just remember in past years, it was like, you'd feel like you need to get in all the bad stuff for the week at the beach. And then and then I'm going to get right back on track. And I just think over time, my mentality has shifted to where that stuff just doesn't interest me anymore. A lot of times, if I want something like that I don't want to eat, I'm going to have it, but then it's not going to be a big deal, I guess. I just feel like sometimes we feel like we need to get all of our bad stuff in, and then we're just going to get right back on track and go work out really hard the next week. And I just think, again, that's falling in that black and white mentality. And I think over time, whenever we are more consistent and we do realize we feel better with eating these things and just any movement, you want to continue to do that. And so I also think a lot of it comes from the Lord, though. You know, just our mentality around life in general. And of course, health falls into that. But yeah, there's so much freedom there. I feel like sometimes we feel so trapped in, well, gosh, I didn't make a good choice. And so now I have to go do whatever to get back on track.
Yeah.
And I just feel for my past self that felt like that. And so many women still feel like that, I think, which is sad to me.
Yeah. I was the same way. of like trying to eat perfectly leading up to vacation. And then you'd like, you know, blow it on night one. I say blow it in quotation marks.
And then, so I'm just going to eat that way the whole week.
Yeah. And then you like, don't feel good. And then that makes you, I feel like that it's like, you know, thinking of two sides of the pendulum. You kind of swing from one to the other. And now I kind of go into it of looking at like, I don't know, there's so many dimensions to it that each situation will be different, right? Like one night you might go out with your kids to get ice cream and get a cone. The next couple weeks you might go and you're like, I don't want it. Like I can enjoy the moment and the experience without getting the ice cream cone every time. But like I can still get the ice cream cone and like let it.
And both are okay.
Be that.
Like both are okay.
Yeah. You know, and it goes back, I always think of that verse of like, everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial, and how that really can change based on the situation.
Yeah.
And I even look at it as just like, if I'm sitting down, maybe on vacation or I'm traveling or something, or just out for a special event, like, how do I want to feel at the end of this meal? And sometimes that's helpful, not just like physically. I mean, you know, how do I want to feel physically, but like, how do I want to feel kind of like connected with the people I'm around? And sometimes maybe choosing the less healthy option is actually the better option in that situation. And then other times it's not.
Yeah.
But it truly is that like flexibility of not having a rule of like, every time I go out to eat, you know, like you had 2 years of not eating refined sugar. I think I had like 2 or 3 years of like never eating French fries when we went out. Cause I just
That's so sad.
thought they were unhealthy and bad. And now I'm like, those are probably my go-to. I love a good French fry.
Yeah. We should go get some of those.
We should. But like, for example, last week, my husband and I went out to dinner on Friday and I had the option to get fries. I love them. But in that moment I was like, do I really want them right now? And I really didn't. And it wasn't because like, oh my gosh, fries are bad.
Like you had to get a salad and
I was like, actually the salad sounds really good to me tonight. I had a couple fries from my husband's plate and like, they truly weren't great.
Yeah. So you didn't miss out on anything.
And so, I think it goes back to like trusting your body.
Yeah. And knowing, I think, that's hard sometimes for women to trust. They don't feel like they can trust themselves or food.
And I could go probably down a whole rabbit trail with this that you could probably go on as well. But I feel like so much of that could be tied into, we are so busy.
Yeah.
We are our
distracted.
Schedules are, we're distracted. Our schedules are jam packed that we have no like downtime, quiet time to truly like be with the Lord, be with our thoughts, be with our emotions, and just like rest. That it's so easy to turn to food for comfort and to numb out, to avoid an uncomfortable situation that, you know, I'm not saying making time for quiet is going to fix everything, but that again goes into health is so much more than what you eat and how you move. And that is a big piece of it. If you're going, if you never have time, like with yourself, with God, praying, journaling, and uncovering any kind of like emotions or anything like that you may just kind of be pushing down, that maybe we're turning to food.
That 100% affects your physical.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So it's not Yeah. I think we want to put things in boxes. And I know that you as a dietitian, people do come to you for, what should I be eating? And I know that you're known for, you work out. So people want to know, like, what am I supposed to do with working out? And I mean, you have a whole membership based around those things, which isn't bad. However, it just kind of depends on our motives and where we're finding our worth in things. And so I just think sometimes we do try to put things in boxes and put labels on things. And I know that we both learned the hard way through our own experiences that you just can't do that. There's not joy found in that, to be honest. And first and foremost, like, if you don't know the Lord, then that's the number one priority, right? That's where everything flows from. So talk to us, talk to me, talk to somebody and know him. And then that does change everything. That should change everything. And so I think that, Clara, if you just kind of, to round out this conversation, if you had like just something else that you wanted to share, to just kind of, if somebody is feeling very stuck in their health, if they do feel very unmotivated, they don't trust themselves around food, they just have always had these issues, like, what would you say to that woman?
Yeah. Gosh, I mean, your feelings are valid for sure. I think pretty much everyone has been there, whether people vocalize it or verbalize it or not. And something that I heard, I can't even remember where I heard this kind of like terminology, but you have like the miracle working power of the Holy Spirit, like within you. Yeah. Like, and if you think of like stories in scripture, like miracle, like think of the miracles that happened, like that same power is inside of you as a believer. That I'm just like, I think we just put our health in a box, we put God in a box, and we don't think about like what he can do. Yeah. Like truly nothing is impossible for him. And I know health issues, food issues, body image issues, whatever, can feel impossible. Yeah. Like you were just at the bottom of the pit that like you're never going to crawl out of. You're probably never going to crawl out of it alone. Yeah. Which is why we need Jesus and why he is just I cannot think of health without him and without faith as really being like the bedrock of all of it. But in his strength and in his power, you do have the capability to change, to learn new skills, and to look at it in a whole new way and to truly enjoy it. My whole thing is like, your health is a gift to steward, but also to enjoy. Yeah. And I really do believe you can do both simultaneously. Yeah.
But it's not going to come from our own motivations, right? It's just, And if you just find yourself feeling very in that place of just stuck and you just don't feel good and you just don't know what to do, like pray about it. I mean, I know that sounds really like just pray about it. No, really. I really think he will and get quiet. Yeah. You can't just say, these prayers just flying out flying by. It's just, we need to be quiet. And if you find it really hard to be quiet, I think that's a really great place to start because it's not easy. However, like that's where he meets us. And so he will reveal like, hey, lovingly, hey, this is what you need to give this to me. Right. We're like grasping onto things so hard. And I know I've definitely been there. I know you have as well, but he wants so much more for us. He has so much joy waiting on the other side if we'll just give it all to him and just surrender it. So I've just really enjoyed this conversation. I feel like it's so needed. And even some days you'll feel like, yes, I am giving it to him. And some days will be harder than others. This isn't like we have it all figured out. You're never going to have it all figured out, right? That's why we need to rely on him every day, and his mercies are new every day. So don't beat yourself up. Nobody's perfect. And so just relying on him more will really change every aspect of your life, but definitely your health. So Clara, I love have this conversation. We could talk for hours, but we'll round it out here. If you don't follow her on Instagram or just know how to get in touch with her, I'm going to let her share how to do those things because you definitely need to follow along.
Yeah, please. So on Instagram, I am at Redemptive Health and my website is redemptivehealth.com. So follow me, message me if you've got any questions on where to get started. And I would love to, walk alongside you.
Well, tell them about your membership too. I mean, I think that's something that really could benefit.
So I do offer a monthly membership. We've been up and running since January. So we've got monthly workouts, which Kari joined me with our lower body
very good
today. We've got monthly workouts that are more like resistance based. And then we also have a monthly recipe collection. And then my favorite
tested out
part,
one of those last night.
Yes. Yeah. She did. Yeah. My favorite part, and this is something that I really think is beneficial, whether you are just starting out and you're that overwhelmed, I don't even know where to begin, I don't have enough time. If that is you, or you're someone maybe like Kari or I, where we're like, you feel like you've got a pretty good routine in your health. Each month we focus on like one kind of core foundational health habit that really either revolves around nutrition, movement, or rest. And rest, I think of kind of encompassing both like rest and sleep, but then also like stress management. In April, our focus was infusing play.
That's good.
And the benefits that play has, who is playing anymore?
It's
not a kid.
Right.
And so each month we have one kind of smaller focus, because we know, and research shows, that when we focus on one thing at a time, we have a greater chance of that actually sticking.
Yeah.
And when we're making change, we want it to actually stick. So we have one thing that we can focus on. So if you feel like you are have all those like math equations floating around in your head when you think of health, this is a way to distill it down, and you have one thing that you know you can focus on. It's doable.
Yeah,
this month
so doable.
Is 10 before 10. We're getting outside for 10 minutes before 10 a.m. And so we have that as well. We've got group coaching call each month. So it's just a great community with nutrition, movement, and then just honestly weekly, daily reminders of like where your focus is, what your motives are, to keep you on that track, to have the accountability, encouragement, and pointing you back to Christ and his strength.
That is so important.
Yeah.
I just love that you put all those together and do it in a biblical way. Like that's, it's rare. And so if that sounds like something you want to check out, go to her website and message her if you have any questions. And so I just really appreciate you joining me and just opening up your home to me. You may be wondering why I'm here. My kids are at camp, and so I'm staying in Asheville for a couple of weeks. So I just really appreciate this time with you on here. And just this week, it's been great. So thank you guys for joining me, and go follow Clara and learn from her. And I'll see you on the next episode.
Bye.
If this episode has served you in any way, I would love it if you'd share any aha moments or takeaways over on Instagram and tag me at Kari Coody. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button so we can continue to learn and grow together.